away with agenda that we've put together. There it is.
That has all of the schedule.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. All right, can you all see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so there is a address there at the top, that tiny URL address. If you've not done that form, please go ahead and include that. Fill that out. You don't have to do it right this minute, but as soon as the meeting is over, because we do have some giveaways from our special guest who's here, Tim Neal.
That's right.
The book was published this week.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to do that and share those things with you. So I'll try to copy that address again a little bit later for those who come in late. And Tim and I will figure out. Hey, how are you? Welcome. Okay, so I'm going to run through these items, and then we have a couple things to talk about here. First of all, Ryan has 2 young children, so he's not able to join us right now. That he's taking care of and teaching online and all of those fun things that we're all doing. But our current balance is over 10,000. And our membership is up 4 from 1,006 last April to 1,010 this year. And so that's a nice amount. I did use some money in preparation for the convention to buy some swag that was for the delegates assembly. That's right now going to be saved for the summer leadership conference, if that goes. If not, it'll just stay here in my house and wait till next year for the convention in Chicago. And that one of the things I did make were some badge ribbons that say Art Ed Technology that I intended to pass out at all of our events. So we will get those passed out next year at the convention. Because we had such a large balance in our account, we did decide this year to do a grant, to make a grant available, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. We have no secretary at this time, so we do not have any minutes to share with you at this time. At the convention, we had scheduled 21 presentations, including our Pechakucha that has 6 presenters, and I believe a couple of them are here with us today. And so we are doing the Pechakucha tomorrow, thanks to Tim. And Tim, do you want to talk for just a minute about the virtual conference and how that's been going? I know I've been attending a lot of sessions.
Yeah, no, it's been nice. I mean, like, you know, it's such a loss to not have the conference happen, but it's really nice just to have people sharing. We've had 25 different sessions that people volunteered to do. So thanks to all of you guys who are doing the Pechakucha. And it's just been nice, you know, it's been gaining steam over the course of the week. So, you know, generally these sessions have had about 80 to 100 participants, and then we're recording the videos and uploading them to the NAEA app. But it's just really nice. There's a pretty big variety of art and techniques that people are sharing. And a lot of it's really focused on, you know, the distance learning situation we're in now. So it's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's been great. I think it's been interesting to see everyone work through their technology problems because, you know, there were a number of folks who were quite nervous about it, you can tell, but my experience has been that everyone has been so patient with presenters and encouraging and thankful that it was happening. And so it's great just to see people's faces today and in all of those sessions that I've been doing. Debbie West is one of my longtime friends, and it was great to see her giving a session yesterday. I don't think she took but maybe 4 breaths in an hour. But it was a great session, and she was another one who was nervous about doing it, but it was great. It was great. One of the other things that happens, excuse me, at a convention is Delegates Assembly. And the delegates did have a meeting last week, and a virtual delegates assembly on Sunday, and went over the business that is conducted at a delegates assembly. And basically what's done is they do the work and then they send recommendations to the NAEA board. So there were 8 position statements that you can see there that were already in the books, and those were came up for their, I think it's every 3 years they get reviewed. And so those first 8 that you see there were all reviewed, updated, and voted on to send on to change language. Almost always there's some things that have to be just updated to more recent language and vocabulary that's used. So those were done. And then there were 2 new position statements vetted and voted on. Those were position statement for reaching learners who experience trauma, and the position statement on utilizing quality resources to build meaningful curriculum. So I know they had a board meeting Tuesday or Wednesday this week, a virtual board meeting. And so you should start to see those pretty soon on the NAEA site. One other thing that was done by the board was that a new interest group was approved by the delegates and sent on to the board. And that was the new atelier group for focusing on drawing based on art masters. And apparently they have quite a large group that was interested in that. And if you're not familiar with how those interest groups come about, there has to be a certain number of people who are interested in forming it. They create bylaws and constitutions, and then they present it to the NAA board, who sends it down to the delegates, and the delegates review it, and then it's passed on for approval. The last I heard, we were the largest interest group in NAEA. Choice might be getting close or may surpass us soon as well, but those are 2 very large interest groups. I don't think Lily is here. Anybody? Doesn't look like she's here with us. There. So the awards committee chose not to provide any awards this year. We had very limited response in our award nomination, and they just felt that there was not enough to choose from, and they chose not to give an award this year, which worked out conveniently considering we didn't have a convention. But we do want to really do a better job of trying to recruit award nominees. We all know, and you can tell just from this week with people stepping forward to do these presentations virtually, that there are people that are certainly worthy of giving these awards to. So we want to make sure that we're recognizing the people that are in the trenches doing this work every day. And so we will be sending more information out about those awards. One other thing that's always done at the convention is there's a meeting with the executive director of all the leaders from the different interest groups. Obviously, that was not held. I do believe it'll be a Zoom meeting in the near future, but it was not held yet this year. One of the major topics that was in conversation last year was the idea that interest group leaders should have a vote at delegates assembly. We currently don't. Instead, it's the leaders from each state. And so I don't know that Mario has even heard that information yet. And so I look forward to us potentially having a Zoom meeting with him later on. As I said, we did offer the grant this year, and there were 2 applicants who applied for the grant. We awarded it to Thomas Pieszko, and we're going to be having him write an article that we will put out either in the NAEA News or in Collaborate or some other format. That's part of the requirements of the grant, is that they do have to write about their proposal, what was done. I'm sorry, I have crazy dachshunds in the background barking. I hope they're not too loud. So we will be getting him to write an article about that. We did, of course, have a multi-caucus party planned for the convention for tonight, actually, at a really fun place, Sociable Cider Works. And we had Minneapolis style pizza that was going to be served at that, and we were really excited about it. So maybe if you're in the Minneapolis area, you might want to stop by and visit them at some point. We will be working on planning the multi-caucus party for next year. That involves art ed technology, the women's caucus, the caucus on social justice. Is that right? Social theory? I don't know, my mind just went blank on that. And the independent schools interest group, and we do that together, and hopefully that will be successful next year instead. We do have articles for the NAEA News, and Tim has agreed to do one for the next deadline coming up April 30th, but we will have another deadline in July. As you can tell, that deadline is way before it is published. So the July deadline is for the October-November column. I don't have the deadlines yet for the ones after that, but we do get those about every 2 to 3 months. So if you're interested in writing an article, please send me an email, let me know, or respond on Collaborate, either one. We do want you to have those. It makes more sense for us to share that information from a lot of different fronts rather than me just writing. In addition to that, we do have the Collaborate forum. Well, I would like for us to really start pushing, having some lesson sharing there. And it's also another forum we can use for articles. I didn't put this on here, but I'm actually good friends with the editor of the advisory, the NAEA advisory. She is always looking for articles to be printed for that. So definitely that's something to be looking at. Okay. And I hear my husband coming in, so hopefully he doesn't do anything crazy. Has anybody seen the crazy video online with the woman who's teaching somewhere else and her husband walks by in his underwear? It's the story of our lives right now.
I had to beg my son to put pants on this morning while I was teaching a class, which is not what my students were expecting.
I know, it was so that you'll have to check that video out. It's funny. I mean, the husband's like, ah, and he runs back, and the mom is like, oh my God. Okay, so I think that the virtual conference idea has been very successful, and even prior to the coronavirus, I had been planning for us to start doing more of Zoom webcast, maybe every month or every other month. And so I'm looking for potential presenters, volunteers who would like to do those. Some of the topics I put there: media art, new tools, distance learning, makerspace. I think it would be a really great tool for us to use. We are the Art Ed Technology Interest Group. Yeah. So I want us to try to do that. And so if you're interested in that as well, you can also send me an email about that too.
Yeah, definitely with the makerspace, you can count me in on that. And also the July 7th article, I can do that one too.
Okay.
I'll send you an email.
Okay. And like I said, there's an article every 2 months or so. So anyone else who's interested, just let me know that you're interested in that as well. Tim, I
Yeah.
asked him if he would be interested in trying to pull together a pre-conference for the Chicago convention. We did not plan one in Minneapolis, and I want us to do one in Chicago. If you're not aware, I am the conference program coordinator for Chicago.
Wow.
So planning a pre-conference is not something that I really have time for. I'm still working on keynotes. And all the other things that go along with planning the convention. But I think that a pre-conference from AET is really important. So I asked Tim if he would work on that. And Tim, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we know we're going to do about a half day of sort of hands-on workshops and then go out for a site visit, because Chicago is an amazing place to share some of those things. So you know, the virtual sort of NAEA has actually helped a lot of those people happen to be from the area, and I think it's a really good preview of some of the types of things we might do. But yeah, so I'm still looking into it, and if anyone is interested in helping out, certainly send a note my way.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim, what's and this actually goes to Deb. Are we still kicking around the idea of doing like a little mini makerspace that could be open during the whole convention?
It's on the list of things that we're going to do, that we're looking at. I will tell you that the convention space is a lot smaller than what we're used to for Chicago. We're not using the Hilton, and we're not using the convention center. There was a lot of complaints, negative comments about the process of getting on a bus and going to the convention center. It was a little inconvenient, and so NAA decided to explore other options. So the convention is actually at the Hyatt, and it's all at the Hyatt. And so I think space is going to be part of the issue there. Definitely, if there are some maker spaces that we can use for tours, I'm in that process right now of kind of nailing down tour spaces. So if you know of any that you recommend that we should be including in those tours, definitely send me that information and contact information and that kind of thing. And kind of going along with that, I was speaking to Dennis Inholson earlier today because I'm a little worried about keynote speaker space. And I was mentioning that when I attended ISTE before, that their space for a keynote was not adequate to handle everybody who wanted to attend. So they had satellite streaming stations all over the space that people were sitting on the floor watching it from a satellite room and others. So that's one thing we're exploring for that. So any way we can get technology to help with that convention will certainly be a benefit.
Yeah, even if it was like even we just had like a room, like a tinkering room with, you know, because Tim and I are ambassadors from Morphe. We had like, you know, people could bring their own devices, and Sophia's always super wonderful with giving, you know, free codes away for people who bring their own devices. Again, like ISTE does.
Right. Can either of you or both of you together just send me like a paragraph description of what you would like for that to be, what it could look like, how long you want it to be available, and something that I can then take to Dennis and Mario for that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
and I
no problem.
actually, if sorry, Tim, I can actually, depending on what my students are doing, like, I could ship my 3D. The 3D printers, I'm sure, and Ultimaker. Actually, you know what? Ultimaker would even, because they owe me a favor, they could actually loan me one of their brand new S5 printers, which are like super duper amazing. So, like, we just had that and some other takeaway stuff. Like it's a reality. It wouldn't have to be like a huge room or anything, but you know, have some makey set up and some other things. Like it's totally doable. I would like to have like a laser cutter, but that's like pie in the sky sort of thing.
So send me like what the minimal requirements would be, and then what your desirable requirements
Okay,
would be, and
sure
maybe
thing.
we can get somewhere in the middle of that, and you know, just what it would, if there would be a cost from the NAEA side, and you know, any details about it so that I can
Okay,
share.
cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Anything else about the pre-conference?
I'm also reaching out to Art Institute of Chicago just because I've taken classes there. They have workshops over the summer for teachers, and I have some connections, and I actually have a former student that works there. So that's a great space, and they have a lot of the kind of things that we would use already there. So I'm going to see if I could sort of work my way in there. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's good. Well, and like I said, if there are some maker spaces for us to include in tours, that would be great. There are so many wonderful tour opportunities in Chicago that we're working on. I have a great local committee there, and some fun things like drawing at the Field Museum. And, you know, we always include the Frank Lloyd Wright houses and things, but, you know, there's always new people that go. Even if I've been to the Frank Lloyd Wright houses several times, doesn't mean somebody else doesn't want to go in those. So we have to bring those things back too. So I'm looking forward to it. Chicago's a great location for a convention.
Absolutely.
I'm a little disappointed. We're supposed to go in May for a site visit, and that's kind of up in the air now too, whether we're going to be able to do that or postpone it or what. You know, that's our world today. Okay. Election of officers. Krisha, and Krisha, hi. I see you're here. She's here with us. Krisha decided to move back to Vice President of Technology. It was more in her wheelhouse and something she had more time to dedicate to. So the board had decided I'm staying on for chair. We have one nominee for chair-elect, and that's Tim. And Ryan Patton is our treasurer now, and he is willing to stay on as treasurer. We had no other nominations for that. We have no one serving in two positions, the vice president of best practices and secretary. So we're looking for people to be nominated for that. If you know someone who should be nominated, I would really love for that to happen. What I plan to do is send out a Google form, vote form for us to vote in the next couple of days. So if you or someone else wants to run, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if you know someone else, we really do need those officers to just divide up some of the jobs that are here for us. Any comments about that?
Yeah, the vice president best practices, what does that entail?
In the past, it was started as, well, it originally began as a distance learning chair. And so it was primarily geared towards that, whereas we had that side and we had the technology side. So they were kind of dividing up both of those realms that are covered under the art ed technology. Mm-hmm. So generally it has been related to sharing new best practices with distance education.
Okay. Let me lull that one. I might nominate myself, but let me lull it around a little bit. That might be something I would be interested in.
Okay. I'm going to copy this address here, maybe.
And the secretary, I assume, just taking minutes?
Yes.
And of our meetings, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I can volunteer for the position.
Okay. Yeah.
2 E's and 2 E's
Two
Yeah.
E's and an I.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a hyphen between Gui and May. Yeah. So that is the two-word first name. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Good.
That's great.
All right. Any new business questions? And that's the form I just copied again for you to fill out if you didn't already fill that out. And I'm also going to put my email address in here. But are there any?
There's hey, there's one thing I wanted to just kind of throw out to the group. So it's actually kind of an ironic story, but the last like year and a half, I had been working on a project. Let me see, I'll post it here in the chat. I didn't plan on the coronavirus or anything, but it's actually about open. But if you want to check out that link, I've been studying digital badges for like a year and a half, and I built a free digital badge issuing platform. And one of the things that that I'm setting up on it is the ability to like for conferences and focus groups like ours to create like subdomains on the platform so that anybody who has a training, a professional development session, or a seminar like at a conference can actually offer a digital badge for what they do if they upload their seminar digitally. So, and it's open basically to anybody. So anybody can use the platform to issue a digital badge. If you click on the free training and badges, here, that's probably, yeah, there you go. That's the direct link to it. But it's actually, I've been coding this for like a while, and I was actually about to present at LEAD, the LEAD conference, the California EdTech LEAD conference next week, but they canceled it. So, so yeah. So, but yeah, basically these are just some like test badges we were playing around with, but I'm working with some interns from SDSU to test out the system, make sure everything's working, and it looks like it's about ready to go. So if we ever wanted some of our presenters to be able to offer a digital badge, they can actually put their digital badges and their seminar presentations like recorded in the system. And then anybody who attends an in-person session can still get the digital badge by doing like a little quiz at the end. But anybody who can only do it virtually, or like if you ever had two presentations at the same time and you can't attend both of them, you can actually catch the other one later, watch the presentation, still get a digital badge for your time as well. So basically, and it's free. I don't make any money off of it. It's just a labor of love project for the EdTech community that I was issuing. It does cover all of education, but there is an art education subdomain, and I don't have any presentations there. So if we wanted to give this a try, I could send out more information about it later. But yeah, basically it's set to be open actually next week technically. So we'll see. But yeah,
that's a great idea. Christian, why don't you write up something and post and collaborate about it?
Okay.
Right? And on our social media. And since you kind of got the floor right now, can you share all the information about our social media and what you've done with that over the last year or so?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things we had talked about at our last meeting was finding a way to curate content from our members and like where they could share stuff so that we both curated it, but also the community could see it. And so one of the ideas we had was using our social media accounts more to accomplish that. And so I coded this little bot on our Twitter account. And essentially what it does is we have a Google survey where anybody can submit like a tweet or like a message essentially to other members, like a request for resources or a question about something. And when they submit the Google search or the Google form, it will automatically post that question to the community with all the hashtags that we use to organize things by like sub-content. It'll post that to our Twitter account and our Facebook page and our Facebook group. So it kind of blasts it out across all of our social media. And then we can take in responses and suggestions from community members and then go back in and track everything with the hashtags that they selected when they submitted the form. So yes, it's all automated. And I also have like a little promo that I've set scheduled to go out every Friday to just kind of remind people to submit more questions or requests for resources or things like that. So we've had a few people use it already. We haven't had a lot of people. I think we maybe had like 10 so far who have used it, but it's, you know, at least one a month or so. But yeah, any other things we can do to promote that more or get people to use the form more would be great.
Trisha, why don't you, if you were to do a screencast or a Zoom or something, it could be one of our webcasts, but you could do it as a webcast, as a screencast too, and save that. And then where you go through all of this and show how it's used,
Sure.
from, not from your side necessarily, but you know, just from the average member, what they might, how they might want to use this to share information. And then we can then post that on the website and then collaborate. So, because I think sometimes these tools are a little daunting to people if they're not familiar with them.
You mean you're talking about the Twitter, the
Yeah.
Google service? Yeah, I can do that. That would be great. Yeah, that's basically all I had to share. So yeah, I've just been coding up a storm lately with everything going on. So yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I have a question about tomorrow's presentation, the Pakakucha presentation, because I plan to first present. First, who is going to be the moderator for the presentation?
I'm the moderator.
Okay, Deborah. So I plan to first use the PowerPoint present. And at the end, I plan to do a live demonstration by putting on my headset. And then I need to be able to share my screen because I am like doing live cast and or show on my screen. All right. And then if I can share my screen, then the audience can see what I see in there, and you know, so that will be more interesting. So will you be able to allow me to share my screen?
Okay, so let me throw that question out to people, other people who might be more knowledgeable about Zoom. Is I can make other people a host, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
And that allows them to do that?
Yeah, and then you can take the host role back too afterwards.
Okay, and so do you do that down here in the
sharing?
In the sharing?
Yeah.
When you see the presenters on this, participants on the side, you could, there's a little more tab, and then you could make them hosts. And then on the bottom it says reclaim host. Okay,
it's on the participants one?
I've used it there, yeah. So like you see each person, and then you could.
Okay, so like right here. Oh, when I click on we may, I can have her. No, that's just her chat. Make host. I got it. I have to right click on it.
Right, you got it.
Okay. And then that allows. Oh, then did you allow me?
Oh.
Because I think there's also a co-host option in meetings I've hosted. If you hit the three dots and the person's picture, I think that there's a co-host option. Well, there has been when it's been my meetings.
But you actually don't even need to be the host to share your screen. There's an option under share that you could click to let other people share their screens too. The only thing I would warn you about that is that we've had 2 of the Zooms hacked this week by random other people. So you do want to be wary of, you know, making sure that setting gets off when people are not sharing.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Our district addressed that with just mandatory waiting rooms where your students are in the waiting room, move them to come into the.
And I just went through after a session earlier and changed all of mine to disable the waiting room. And this was for adults, so this wasn't for kids, because Tim knows we were in the same session, and the person kept having to stop and go out of sharing her screen so that she could let participants in. And I thought, well, that's one thing I learned from that session. So at least for this meeting and tomorrow's, I've turned that off.
Right.
So Deborah, can we do a little test, or you want to do a test tomorrow? So I just wondering whether.
Why don't we stay on after we're done here, and then.
Okay, that would be great. That if we can just do a short test and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because you have all the PowerPoints, right?
I do. I do.
Okay.
So that's what I was going to share, the screen with the PowerPoints. And Ryan is probably recording his, so then I'll just show his video, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Hey, quick question for Tim. This is kind of side note, because I'm tomorrow after my my session here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better if because you guys have been blowing up my Twitter, which is fine, like blowing it up, like, but in great stuff. Is it better if I record my Zoom? Is that been working out better for you guys?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's an easier, more compact way for sure.
Okay, and I could just share that with you or email it to you, or.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna probably do that either tomorrow morning or tonight. So I'm probably gonna be doing some Morphe stuff and some other few slides with some definitely new cool Morphe stuff. So.
Excellent. Yeah, the AR stuff is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Cool.
Okay. Well, any other new business to talk about? All right, then. Well, I thank you for coming. I did put my email address up there if you want to sign up to do articles or webcasts or volunteer to run for an office or any of those things. Just stay in contact and let me know.
All right.
I'll see you all in person in Chicago.
All
Yes.
right.
Excellent.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet
Have
you.
a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.